This location might be temporary. I just moved and I'm trying to get all my stuff together, as evidenced by the horrible sight in the background of empty bookshelves. I promise it will be fixed soon. But to the main subject, I recently finished Avatar: The Last Airbender, which had been recommended to me by probably everyone I knew. Initially I started, it was like, okay, this is a pretty decent show. And then there's a point where I said wow, those were 3 really solid episodes all in a row. And the person I was watching it with just smiled and was like, yeah, because it turns out the rest of the show is like that. But the world of Avatar is never expositioned at you or explained, it's just shown. Like Aang awkwardly flubbing the Fire Nation bow, or Katara realizing that the necklace that she got from her mother is actually an engagement necklace made by someone that they meet along the way. Or even just the intricacies of the different body movements of the different benders. And Team Avatar itself goes through a lot. There are different people helping and interacting with them, and all the while, because they're traveling and because they have such a big goal in mind, there are lots of different tiny and not so tiny fights and different ways that people see the world that clash with each other. And each of these conflicts comes into play within the plot, but also reveals something about the individual characters, but also in the resolution of the conflict they grow. It does so much work with every single arc. And then those smaller arcs form a larger arc of a character, like Sokka's initial relationship with war and violence being fun and cool and a way to prove himself, and then slowly realizing the place that it has and the destruction that it causes, and how your abilities as a warrior are valuable but they don't define you, and what it means to be a leader as someone who cares about the people around you instead of cares about your own glory. And Aang's relationship with bending starts out very differently than it ends up. It starts out as a whimsical fun thing that he can do to just goof off or show off, but it ends as him recognizing that it's something he's been gifted with and has responsibility over, and needs to think carefully about using, but then also use it when the situation arises. There are lots of different family dynamics represented within this show as well, and that's really important, particularly in a show that's kind of aimed at kids. Sokka and Katara have a mother who has died when they were pretty young, and a father who went away to fight a war that killed their mother when they were also pretty young. And their inner bickering also comes from a place of being the only people who really understand that about one another. Toph has a complicated relationship with her parents, who did some pretty awful things in the name of love, which is something that you see in the real world. And Zuko's family, by far the most interesting and my favorite part of the series. Zuko is constantly trying to be what he thinks his dad thinks he should be. Azula very much is that person that her father wants her to be, but isn't invested in her father's approval because that's who she is anyway. And is very manipulative about, but also seems to genuinely care for her brother. I'm still parsing that one. And do not forget the best character of the whole series, Uncle Iroh. There are so many good and really well fleshed out characters in this, but Uncle Iroh is the most interesting, and it does show that you can have a character who stays relatively static over the course of a show, but still is a really interesting and good character. He does change to a degree, but not nearly as much as say Zuko or Katara. He's still a very interesting and very flawed and very good character. He, for some unknown reason, is single-mindedly focused on helping Zuko be true to himself, and somehow he does that without fully knowing who that is, but still knowing that the person Zuko is supposed to be is ultimately a good one. And the way that his backstory is slowly unveiled, that he went from a mode of being very focused on war and victory, and he was supposed to be the Fire Lord. I forget this all the time, but he was supposed to be the Fire Lord. And then changing his world to focus on his nephew and just trying to support and love him. But the love that he has isn't just he makes him feel better when he's feeling bad. Even though that's valuable, that's not everything. It means that he challenges him when he's being sulky or illogical or mean. It means that he doesn't let Zuko lie to himself. It means that there are certain things that he will not engage in because he knows it's not good for Zuko. You discover over the course of the show, even though his behaviors don't change, your attitude about them changes. And so he went from, in my mind anyway, going from the goofy bumbling uncle who you're supposed to laugh at to the just fun, genuine, also you still laugh at him because you love him and he's adorable. I only wanted 2 things from the ending of this show. 1, a good ending for Zuko, and 2, Uncle Iroh gets to open the Jasmine Dragon again. I love that tea shop. I love that they just went into the Earth Kingdom and Zuko was just being himself and being super stressed out, and operating in this group of people who he knows should hate him. And he just, like, opens this tea shop as a fugitive, not expecting to ever leave it, really, but being totally open when that time comes. There are just so many themes and character arcs that the show does well, while also having, like, an interesting plot and a well-fleshed-out culture without feeling overstuffed. It's just a good show, and I'm so excited to, like, go out there and read everything about it, then make, like, 30 more videos. I am very sweaty and gross and overexcited, so I'm gonna go, like, drink some ice water and organize my books now. Goodbye. Secret tunnels, secret tunnels, secret tunnel.